Gayla Kasla. My name is Paula Cranmer Underhill. I'm Numgees and Intlekatmuk, and those are tough words for non-speakers of the language, so appreciate that. My traditional name is Tlatlaegulis. It means when whales breach along the beach, and that comes from my Numgees side. And I am living in Lytton in my mom's community at Spapium. I've got this front piece here. I worked with the elevator company on doing an elevator pitch, so this is what I came up with. Experience our Intlekatmuk heritage on the land, be revived on the land, be inspired on the land, take back your health on the land. And we've been growing good food naturally and sharing it, the wealth of the land, since 1882, when my great-grandparents cleared the land and took possession of that when the change happened. Am I clicking this myself? Green? Oh, sorry, I'm not very technical. My grandparents were Isabel Oates and Canoe Harry Tom. They both came from the Fraser Canyon. My grandfather came from a community called Boothroyd, and it was just down the canyon south of Lytton. And my great-grandmother resided on Spapium with the rest of her family. My grandfather, Raymond Tom, inherited the land from them, and he passed on the 35 acres in 3 parcels to me to care for in my time. We've got excellent climate, really hot, warm weather. We're just south of the desert area in the canyon, and we have lots of water and good soil. The land, you can see it was farmed in my mom's day. That's her on the right, and my auntie in the wheelbarrow, and my uncles. And it's been not farmed for about 50 years, so we've just had cattle and horses fertilizing it for us during that time. So when we actually broke the soil, it really grew fantastic food. In the beginning, when we first got started, we live on the west side of the river. You have to take a ferry ride to get to our place, and we had to pack materials over the CN walking bridge, and this fire broke out. It was high water time, and we had a good crew. I had John Alec was helping me out, and he helped organize workers, so I was able to employ 12 people in the first year. This is some of our heritage produce. So I accessed a bunch of programs that are available out there, and with the BC Ministry of Agriculture, I had a Tier 1 production planning, and Jack Reams and his wife did that. And I was able to access a small growers loan fund from Van City Credit Union, and also a Get Youth Working program so that I could employ youth, and that was with using my own money, and then they'd reimburse at the end when I finished the program. So that was really excellent. I've had a lot of farm community support. The Stein Mountain Organic Farm in our first year, Erin and her husband called me up and asked me if I'd like to have some starter plants, and I said sure. So I wasn't expecting, 5 truckloads worth, but that when the guys went down to go pick it up, that's what they came back with, was going back and forth and got us 5 truckloads of starters. So that was a huge help. I also have a mentor, Mojave Kaplan. She's known as the Seed Warrioress. She's really into heritage seeds and preserving that for the future. And then a good friend of my mom's husband loaned us his heavy equipment, and that was really helpful with getting a lot of, because it was all, the fences were down, the irrigation ditches were all filled in. We operate on an 1882 technology with our irrigation ditches, but we've got drip tape and mulch down on the farm. I use the Lytton Two Rivers Farmers Market as our main market. And then we've also done a pop-up market at Stalo Nations grounds in Kokalitsa in Chilliwack. And I did complete an environmental farm plan, and with the Certified Organic Association of BC, took a workshop in there to have a farm employee guide as well. And I accessed what was available at the time, the @BC Tier 2 program, and that allowed me to have a website consulting team work with me to develop the website. So we got going late in our first season because of the loan approval process. We went through a self-employment training program, which was really excellent. The Siska fire was a challenge, and a lack of deep farming and food gathering knowledge at the time. I came up out of being a backyard gardener to having 35 acres to work with. So in the first year we had 4 1-acre gardens in, and that was, they turned out really nice. The ditch line, flume line maintenance repair is another challenge, but this year my update is that Lytton First Nations hired on an irrigation crew, so they've been a huge help in assisting to clear out and brush out those ditch lines from the Ka'ia Creek. And I wanted to start out with the CSA in our first year, but talking to my mom, she said, no, you're going to prove you can grow the vegetables first. So it's always good to listen to your mom. Here's a couple of pictures. That's of our market, and one of the local chiefs is learning how to make a cedar bracelet there. I do a lot of cedar weaving. The picture in the middle is bitter root, and that's a sought-after traditional food for Intlekemik. And then that's the start of a cedar hat that I have there. Here's our flume. You can see it's completely in disrepair, and so we had to fix that up. These are some of our farm volunteers. My daughters, Brianna and Danielle, are on the left of the left picture, and that's some of their friends that come up, and they camp on the land and just do whatever work's required, and they're really enthusiastic. They love to be there, and I'm so grateful for their work. This is down at the market. That's Mojave that's got one of my hats on. And these are a couple of other people in the community. In Houston, in the middle, is my elder. She's an advisor to me, and she actually gifted me with a horse, which is a huge cultural thank you. So I'm excited about that. This is Brian tilling the potato field in Garden 1. And he's using a walk behind tiller. We don't have a tractor, so everything's takes time. And these are the girls. They went and picked the cherry trees and sold the product themselves. They do the social media, so they were able to get it out there and got it all sold. So that was awesome. This is Brianna. She was a marketing and social media intern last year, and so she managed all of the markets that we went to. I helped her with gauging the picks, but she did really well and got us on Twitter and Instagram and all of those things I don't know about. Here's some of the markets we've been to. That was Brianna on the Orange Shirt Day. It's a Remembrance Day for all of the people who went to residential school wearing orange. And the one on the left is a 100 Drums event up in Chalouse near Merritt. And just really nice to get out there and with everybody. Everybody's so enthusiastic and supportive. And whenever we're at an event, we'll just pack up whatever we didn't sell and we'll go hand out bags to people and they can take some home. Or if ever somebody expresses, like we were set up at Stalo one time and a grandmother, homeless grandmother, she told me, had her granddaughter, and the little girl came up, special needs, and she just grabbed at the carrots, and she was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, and I only have 27 cents." And I'm like, "That's fine, she can take what she likes." And she said, "Well, I'd like to pay for it." So I said, "Well, you can pay me if you want to give that." She wanted to give the lesson to her granddaughter that you pay for stuff. So I said, "Sure, I'll take your 27 cents. This is my daughter and her partner, Matt. And this is one of the pieces that the market managers do for all of the attendees. They assist with, putting together little promotional pieces for us. I also do Indigenous artisan show production. I've partnered with the Harrison Hot Springs Resort in Harrison Hot Springs. And so they've given us the room. I went to see the marketing manager, and I said, "Hey, Ian, I want to do a show," and this was beginning of December. And he says, "Okay, yeah, give me a call next year." And I said, "Well, actually, I wanted to have it like in a week or so." So he said, "Okay, sure, yeah, let's do that." And I said, "Then I got another favor to ask of you." And I said, the artists are just trying to make a living. We love your beautiful hotel. Would you consider giving us the room? And he said, "Sure." So people helping out in that way just makes it really good, because then you can create an opportunity for others, and it's really so helpful to everybody. So this is a little bit of the artisans that are there. This is some of our veggie boxes from last year and the year before. This is last year. I was out harvesting the pumpkins and the squash, and my friend Mojave came by. And she's like, "Oh, I'll help you." And so she just jumped in, and we ended up filling up the whole truck. So I didn't have anything out. Somebody asked me one time, "Do you look at the farmer's almanac, or how do you know when things are supposed to happen?" And I said, "I look at my elders, and when they say the frost's coming on Sunday, you better get your crop off the field, because they just know." This is some of the cedar bark things that I make. I make cedar bracelets. It's a common first activity with people when they want to learn cedar. And cedar's really powerful medicine. And I work with 6 First Nations communities also, so I do this with a lot of people. And because of the residential school impacts on our culture and the losses, this is something that is really empowering and lifts people up, and they feel very accomplished when they've made something, because sometimes people haven't had those teachings. And this has turned out to be, I did have a cedar weaving line in my business plan, and it's really taken off, and it's doubled since last year. And I mentioned connecting them with their ancient traditions is really empowering, and a lot of interest from other people as well. Just a short time ago, I was teaching the teachers, the child care providers for the young people got the knowledge of how to weave cedar, so then now they can do that with their students. New opportunities with Lytton First Nation Health. I was hired under contract to do coordination. So it's my planned off-farm income. I was planning on farming for 7 months of the year and then consulting the other 5. So it turned into a little bit more than that, but we're working with it. It's given me an opportunity to learn traditional ways, like gathering our foods on the land. I work with a lot of cultural keepers, and they're sharing their knowledge, and we organize groups to go out for a pick. We got a Traditional Foods Tuesday, and we go out on the land and get asparagus or bitterroot or whatever's ready out there, we go get it. And oftentimes it's gifted to the elders or used in some event if we put it away. A big part of that is developing a traditional wellness framework for the people on how we're going to move forward with these learnings. And I'm a student in Royal Roads University, and my initial research was going to be developing a healing destination in Indigenous communities. There's been a lot of cultural appropriation out there, and so just looking at what's happening worldwide and trying to develop a place that our people can come to, that everyone is welcome to, and to get some of those wellness teachings and just having a location to help people feel well. So this is a little bit more about the traditional wellness and some of the objectives there, which have been achieved. We had a huge success in our launch event. I think the next slide shows it. A lot of these people are quietly doing their thing in the community. The woman with the beadwork on the upper right, she was so shocked that I would invite her to come to our wellness event. She's a buckskin worker, a bead worker, and she was so shocked at how well received she was, and got her to go to a different conference that I organized, and she's sold out of a lot of things, and so it's really lifted up her family, and throughout the years, people are learning how to make regalia, moccasins, whatever it is. It's a big help. So Linda's looking at maybe doing the moccasin workshops for our guests on the farm. We had a camp in Botany, and we're out on the land in Houston, did a sweat lodge ceremony, so people got to learn about that. A lot of people hadn't had a sweat before. And then we take the elders out, and the lady on the right's looking for Tutuin, the wild potatoes. On the left, you can see the tsaweta, so wild celery, and in the middle upper one, you can actually see the little potatoes being held. That's the people are just happy to be out there. This is our regalia making. It was really highly popular. We had about 35 people a night, which was pretty outstanding for the size of the community we have. And also helped a young drum group with some practice space and gave them a little honoraria for their travels. This is some of the traditional medicines. There's a mullein on the side, and then I've got some various things in the jars. This is rose hips that grows on our farm. I work with existing programs, and I've worked with the BC Ministry of Agriculture experts, which has been really helpful, the Growing Forward production planning. And I build on existing research like the nutrition studies and the traditional foods guides that the First Nations Health Authority in BC has put out. A lot of learning on the land. I take people out. This is my daughter gathering sage, and I've taken out visitors from London to go have their first pick of sage. And these are some of the wild traditional foods or materials that I do gather. We've had walking tours on the land last year, and cultural-based tours are on offer on our website this year. I don't have any bookings for that immediately, but I do have a media fam tour, which I'm really pleased to be doing on Friday. So I'm working with one of our traditional food people who's actually got award-winning bannock, and then with another one down the road from Shkapa with Shkapa Wild Mountain Huckleberry Jam. So whatever I do on the farm, I want to gather in other people so that they have a benefit. And working with the cultural keepers is a key. I wanted to show you my picture of my great-grandfather there. He's not a bear hunter, but that bear came through his camp. He had some hunters up from California in the early 1900s, and at the outset, they had their separate camps, and then once he started cooking up his food, they kind of wandered over, and they ended up camping as a group together then, which was really excellent. But that bear came through, so he had to shoot it, and he skinned it. This is some of our local media coverage, and that's my daughter and me at the Bill Reed Gallery in Vancouver doing a cedar rope bracelet activity for local tour operators, the concierge from the Vancouver hotels, and it was a really successful event. Also, a couple other local papers wrote us up as well. Lytton First Nation established an agriculture club this year, and members paid a small fee. It was $10 to join. There was CN Eco Connections, so if anybody's got the railway going through their place, tap into the program. Lytton First Nation got $25,000, so we got about 1,000 trees out into the community, primarily fruit trees, berries, and a few rose bushes and that sort of thing. And also, Lytton is working on a sustainable food hub, and they've done that through the Rural Dividend Fund and got the initial $10,000 to pay the consultants. And now we have a submission in under consideration, and then also matching that up with Indigenous and Northern Affairs Canada application for some AcDev dollars there for a facility. They've looked around town, and there was little pieces that we could do here and there, but nothing that would be fitting the food hub at the moment. That's one of the trees that we got, that little apple tree. And that's our old apples. They're so old that I took them to Hofstede's in Chilliwack, and he took them to his apple guy in the Okanagan, and he didn't know what they were, that they were that old. So we're still trying to figure out what they are, but people don't mind just buying no names. Horses are coming. I was gifted the horse from the elder, so we're going to have horses, and hopefully have more horses than the one, because they're a real healing way with people. And we've got a lot of children in care. And actually in town, it was a high horse culture place, and people are saying we really want our children to be able to ride, and we have so many trails up over the mountains everywhere that we need to reactivate them and start having our horses back. New and future goals. We have camping at our 5-acre lot down the road. It's pretty rocky down there, so we just roughed in some campsites to put those on offer. It's a beautiful site just above the junction of the Thompson and the Fraser, and that's part of that diversifying revenue streams, is just adding in what we can when we can. So again, that was our friend Francis Van Dyke loaned us his heavy equipment so that we could do that, because it would be pretty impossible if we didn't have friends like that helping us out. This is my friend Laura Wielalik, and she's doing a tomato pick. We want to have cabins on the land, and we'll see about doing that by 2019 is a goal. There's always a housing issue in our communities. Our medicine people are actually couch surfing around. You know, they go and do their work, but they don't receive, maybe they get a handshake or a hug, or they might get an envelope with a few dollars in it, but nobody has any RSPs or savings. So thinking that if I could make low cost accommodations there, that it would serve a dual purpose of saving them from having to move around so much, and then actually having our expertise on site. Guided hikes in the Stein. There's a lot of people that go into the Stein, and it's we're experiencing damage to our pictograph heritage sites up there, and if people knew more and appreciated more, the value of that is not something to hack off to put on your fireplace. Or even people have gone to the extreme. I've just heard from our administrator that they're helicoptering boulders with pictographs out of there, which is just crazy. Um, the moccasin making, whole family makes moccasins, and so that would be an offer for people wanting to bake moccasins. A lot of people come to Canada and they want a cultural experience, and that would be a great one. We are planning special food and music events. My daughters have lots of musician friends that are just willing to come up and play and help out. And in the fall, to do a pit cook. You know, when people go to Hawaii, they always go to a luau, and we actually do pit cooking. So that would be another experience for people to have. To create more livable space on the land, to create more spaces where we can do activities, you know, simple spaces where we could go and cedar weave where we're not, you know, trying to put up a 10 by 10 tent in a windy place. It's really super windy there. And that's my sister, and that's the view from the edge of our farm down over the junction of the Thompson and the Fraser. And that's what Lytton means, Kamchin. It's where the rivers meet. And that it takes all of us. That's our farm gate. That's my daughter and I smelling the roses. And it takes a lot of people working together. I have offers from people that just want to come and help out. They're like, I love to weed. It's my therapy, or I'll come and work for you and trade for food. I do a lot of trading where people will come in and whatever their specialty is. You know, the neighbor showed up with wanted to get some salsa ingredients, so I said, sure, yeah, go ahead and pick. And they're like, oh, will you trade? And I said, sure. What do you got? And so she pulled out 2 jars of salmon. Well, I don't have time to can salmon. So that was a really brilliant trade. Another guy brought me some tsawan, some wind-dried fish, and I kept telling him to take more because, you know, he gave me 2 sides, and he just had one of those yellow boxes full, and I felt like he needed more. So he came back in the fall for potatoes. And then, yeah, you just got to take your time. You know, glitches happen, and you just got to kind of roll with what happens and ask people for help, which is a difficult one for me because I was always told, don't ask. You know, you don't ask. From my parents, they're just like, don't ask for anything. So I have to get out of that to ask for help. And then this is my husband, Brian Underhill. We've been married for 29 years, and he's my best man. He's there all the time. Yeah, so that's the end. Quick jam, Gala Casa.